The time has come. It's been 4 years in the making, or longer. I don't know how long they've been working on it. But Indiana Jones and the Great Circle finally came out. I am in the middle of my third playthrough, complete playthrough. Doing all the side quests, all that stuff. Beat it twice. We're probably about like 5 hours into my next in my current playthrough, and it's time to review the game. I've seen enough of the game to be confident in reviewing it in an as non-biased manner as possible, because I am a massive Indiana Jones fan. So, and I have such a strong emotional attachment to Indiana Jones that I was like, do I review this? Do I not review this? Should I review this game? But I'm going to review this game because it's great and I love it and I think it's worthwhile. It's very unscripted. I don't have any script written. It's just going to come straight from the I have some notes, but it's going to come straight from the heart. Let's see. Where to start? Maybe just like my background with Indiana Jones. So, started loving Indiana Jones when I was like 8. I saw Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls poster. I was like, "Dad, what is that? It's so cool." And then from there on, loved Indiana Jones ever since. My first introduction in video game form was Lego Indiana Jones, and then a year later, Indiana Jones and the Staff of Kings. And I didn't play Emperor's Tomb until like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So my history with Indiana Jones video games is very slim. I played Fate of Atlantis and stuff like that, but that's that's a great game. But I haven't. There hasn't been a in my lifetime. There hasn't been a new release of an Indiana Jones game where it was like an actual high budget Indiana Jones in video game form. So back in 2021, whenever Machine Games just randomly dropped that video on Twitter, and it was the teaser trailer for this, I was through the roof because my history with Machine Games is very vast. I have, is that even the right word to say? I don't even know if it's the right word to say. I have a vast history with Machine Games and Wolfenstein and what they've made under Bethesda. So I was like, dude, Indiana Jones, Machine Games, let's go. I just need them to cook. I need them to cook and we'll see it when we see it. And it was quiet. It was quiet for a while. We got Dial of Destiny, great movie by the way. So don't want to hear anything else about that. Dial of Destiny is a great movie. But it took a while. It was like, all right, they're missing. Are they doing Wolfenstein? That's the question. It was like, were they doing Wolfenstein 3 before they were doing Indiana Jones? And I would say I thought we were gonna see Wolfenstein 3 before we were gonna see uh, Indiana Jones. So, to my surprise, at the beginning of 2024, freshly moved to Asheville. On my way to work, went to Harris Teeter, parked, looked at my phone, seen an announcement for Indiana Jones and Xbox Developer Direct. I see the little icon. They had all like the pictures of all the game art and stuff, and then I see that little icon, and it was Indy. I was like, "Oh yeah, wow, that's awesome!" I wasn't expecting that, and they revealed it this year, and it came out this year, and everybody was skeptical about the first person, but I was just as a fan of Machine Games, I was just like, these people need to relax a little bit because it's it's ideal for machine games to make it first person, because I thought it would be third person, but I was like, oh, they've only made first person games ever, especially like their old studio Starbreeze. I think it's Starbreeze. They made the Chronicles of Riddick game, and that's supposedly a great game. Haven't played it, but I know a lot of the DNA is in this from what I've heard from other reviewers. But yeah, I was just like so stoked that they were doing Indiana Jones in first person, because I was like, okay, this makes sense, because it's like, while it would be nice to have like an Indiana Jones game in the style of Uncharted in the third person, Indy isn't really like a shooting gallery kind of character, you know? Like there doesn't need to be like a third person shooter. Like they could have made it an adventure game where it was just over the shoulder, the third person, but I think if you're going to bring Indiana Jones back to relevancy, I think you need to do something so unique that it stands out. It couldn't have just been like I can imagine what people would say if this was a third person game and it came out and it was like Uncharted. Just like the comparisons to Uncharted, it would make my head explode in anger, because like no, Indy needs to be unique and special. So the fact that it was first person was just an incredible idea. I was like, this makes sense. And it's like a hybrid between the two. Like whenever you do like traversal stuff, it's third person. But yeah, so leading up was just like, okay, awesome first trailer. Let's go. I was high. I was sold. I'm sold instantly. I like by default I have to play that game. So I wasn't worried, and I didn't really need to see a trailer. I just needed to see the first one and then be like, okay, here we go. Let's just play it. I'll wait. So they said it was coming out this year. There's no release date until the release date didn't get announced till August, I think. And I thought we would have been playing the game by I thought we would have the game by summertime or during summer. But to my surprise, they just kept pushing back every time we see the game. E3 comes around and they show that story trailer. I was like, okay, cool, awesome. Let's see. No release date. I was a little that's the only thing that made me nervous, is that there was no release date. I was like, is this game ready? Is it ready to come out this year? I was like, okay. And some like animations were like muddy when they showed it again. Like the zooming in and out of third person, it was kind of muddy, and it wasn't really fluid as like it wasn't as fluid as it should be, because it was almost like a flash in and out of the third person into first person. But and then they showed it again somewhere else. I can't remember the event. Maybe it was those preview events. But whenever they showed it again, it looked so much better, and I was like, okay, this is about ready to come out. And then the release date was drawing near, and I was like, okay, I'm not the person to do the premium editions, because it's like it's a lot of money just to play a game early. But if it wasn't Indiana Jones, I probably wouldn't have done it. But I was like, I just have to play this as soon as possible. I just couldn't wait any longer. And the game came out. Early access started December 6th or December 5th at 7 p.m. And I sat down, and there's going to be spoilers towards the middle, and I'll definitely signal when. This might be a spoiler, so if you don't want to ruin the intro, then just click off. But when the intro whenever the main menu hits, and it was the rock face that he's looking at in Raiders of the Lost Ark, I was sent. I was like, that is I knew we were in good hands instantly. I was like, I knew before, but like seeing that, I was like, okay. And then the game starts, and it shows Indy. He puts his hat on, and then it cuts to gameplay, and you're doing the intro to Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I was like, oh, this game has the sauce. It has the sauce. I was like, let's go, let's do this. But yeah, that intro is great. It 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 adds little things that are new to that. Like there's like little extra dialogue that's just not in the movie, and you see Forrestal's camp, and you can pick up books and stuff in his camp, and it's really cool to see that because it's just kind of like in the beginning, it's just like the credits in the movie, and it's the credits, and they're just walking through the woods, but then you get to do like the whip crack when Barranca like pulls out the gun, tries to shoot Indy, and you could do the whip thing that teaches you how to use the whip. It's a good tutorial, and I think it's a good start. Um, I've seen a lot of complaints that I've seen some complaints that it's like not necessary and wasn't necessary for this game, but I think that I personally think it's a good like tutorial to get people into this type of game because it's familiar instead of doing a new like opening adventure like Indy always has. Instead of doing something new, do something familiar so people that are like cautious about this game know that they're in good hands. So that was a great start. And then you cut to Marshall College, and then you wake up, and Locust, played by Tony Todd, rest in peace. Um, he broke into Marshall College, and then you go check out what's going on, and you do like a fight and stuff. I'm not gonna do like a whole summary of the story, but I'm gonna like go through my events playing for the first time, and then just jump to different points where I like jump to different points where the where like the like highlights of the game. But anyways, you see Locust and you fight Locust, and then that's the title card. He knocks Indy out, and then it's like Indiana Jones in the Great Circle, and it's in that font, and it's like clap, clap, clap hands, because that is a good intro. Good intro. Good introduction to this version of Indy, because it's between Raiders and the Last Crusade. And they do stuff. They do stuff with Indy in this game that is so unseen. That's unheard of. Like there's just like, I. It's just something that we have not seen. There's a side of Indiana Jones that we have not seen, and I really love that because it is still the same Indiana Jones. They don't do anything that's like crazy left field and out of character, but we see a side of Indy that we don't see in the movies. Like this is a spoiler towards the end, so just don't click off if you don't want to hear this, or skip ahead like probably like a minute or so. But there's a point where we see his consequences, the consequences of him going off in the middle of a school year to do an adventure. Because I always wondered, I'm like, Indy just does these adventures in the middle of a school year, you know? So it's cool to see the repercussions of that. Like, he gets fired from Marshall College, and that's why we see him at Barnett College in The Last Crusade. And that's a really cool way of explaining why he wasn't at Marshall College in The Last Crusade. But it's a cool way of explaining that part of Indiana Jones. Like, why is he not facing consequences? Because, like, if that was like a teacher just can't leave in the middle of the year to be like, all right, I'm going on a 2-3 week vacation to go look for treasure. So we see that, and it's really cool. And I thought that's a big plus in my book, because it's like it doesn't feel samey. It feels unique, but still Indiana Jones, and I do like that a lot. And to see like him coping with him and Marion splitting. That's cool. That's cool. Because it's like, okay, well, where was Marion in The Last Crusade? I was like, well, they split, you know? Since Temple of Doom's a prequel, they split in between Raiders and The Last Crusade, and we get to see, like, his falling out with Marion touched on. And that's really cool. That's super awesome. But continuing with my first night of the game, you get when you get to the Vatican, and it's like, okay, this is new, this is open, this is really where the game starts, is like when that opening part of the Vatican level is so great. Like, I really like, sorry, my nose is stuffy, so I'm like breathing heavy, allergies. But that's like, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And you're picking up notes and you're sneaking around, throwing bottles, fighting enemies. I was like glued to the screen and like using the whip to pull people in and use it as the distraction. It was like, this is so awesome, and just totally blew me away. I was like, I knew what I was getting into, but I didn't realize how different Indiana Jones would feel from other first person games, and that was truly special. So I played first night of the game, I played about 5 hours. I got through the entire Vatican. The first playthrough, I did not do any. I barely did side quests. I did like maybe like 2 or 3, maybe 2 per area or 1 per area. I don't remember, but I didn't do a lot of those, and I still love the game. But the second playthrough, where I did everything before leaving that area, it made me love the game more and realize that, like, when you play this game, you need to do the side content. Don't be weird. Just like play the game, take your time with it, and you'll get more out of the story, because everything loops back into the main story. So all the exploration and all the side quest content loops back into the main story. So definitely do that. So yeah, first 5 hours I played, I was hooked. And then like throughout the week I was playing, and it was just great. But I would like to touch, I have a notebook. We're gonna touch on some things. Gameplay is very addicting. Like, exploring is Indiana. It's like this game, like when you play it, it's like I can't stop playing it, even though it's not. It's very slow, but it's like the the just playing this game. There's just like something addicting about the gameplay loop. It's just very rewarding to find puzzles and find skill books, because you level up by using skill books. You'll find these adventure books around, and they'll give you like perks. Like, say there's one called Throttle, where if you whip an unaware enemy, it'll knock him out. If you whip pull an unaware enemy, it'll knock him out. Or like there's one called Climbing Aces, where you can climb faster, or Brawler, where you can punch harder, and stuff that'll like increase your carrying capacity for like the bread and fruit. You can find that gives you health buffs and stuff, and bandages and what all. But sorry. So first time playing through was interesting, because it's like I made it almost hard. I made it harder for myself, but I still enjoyed it by not doing side content. But doing the side content made me love it even more. Um, but yeah, taking pictures, like a camera in Indiana, like I never thought Indiana Jones would be fun, like taking pictures. It's like mini Pokemon Snap, but it is really fun taking pictures of stuff and like finding cool secrets using your camera. It's really fun, and I kind of wish that there was like a photo mode tied into that. Like, you could take pictures, and there's like an album book or something that you can like look at pictures. That would be a great addition in a future game, or this game. You can just like do an update. You could just take pictures of things. Um, I'd like to touch on the story and the characters a bit because I've been seeing mixed feelings about the story and how it goes. There will be spoilers in this section, so this from here on, I would just, if you haven't beat the game, I'm just gonna leave this for people that want to watch halfway and then come back and watch the other half whenever they beat it. Because I do think that you need to experience this like firsthand and play the game before watching any of this. But overall, this game is a 9 out of 10 for me. It would be a perfect 10. Personally, it's a perfect 10, but I think critically, if like I'm thinking about like on an emotional level, it's a 10 out of 10. Perfect. Like as an Indiana Jones fan, this is a 10 out of 10, but if I'm going to be unbiased and then I have to give it like a 9 out of 10. It's such a good game with like minor nitpicks and criticisms towards the game that I could say hold it back. Like there are some drawbacks, but nothing too bad. Um, but yeah, from here on, spoilers. But to get the gist, play this game. Get Game Pass. You don't even need an Xbox to play this game. You don't even need a console to play this game. Get Game Pass, and you could, if you get Game Pass Ultimate, you could stream it from your phone. Get a controller and stream it from your phone or your laptop, iPad, whatever. You can stream it on anything. You can even stream it on a TV now. Certain TVs have like an Xbox streaming option. You can connect a Xbox controller too. So yeah, you don't even need an Xbox to play this game. If you have a good internet connection, get it on Game Pass and play it that way. If you have an Xbox, buy the game. Support the devs so we can get more Indiana Jones stuff or Wolfenstein in general. Just like support machine games because this game is truly something great, and I think they need to be applauded for it. But moving on, spoiler section. The story's great. Man, I really do enjoy the story and characters of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. They just like knocked it out of the park in terms of feel and tone. Like if this was Todd Howard's pitch this long, I'm glad he sat on it and didn't throw it away. Because this is like this might be one of his greatest accomplishments in terms of like pitching something. I know Machine Games made it and he was an executive producer, but like this is such a cool idea for Indiana Jones that I just love. Like I love just like this concept of like, all right, around the globe, all of these like like all the wonders of the world, they all perfectly like match up in a circle. It's in a perfect circle. It's so cool. They all align on the map, and there's these stones that you find that like supposedly have power to them, and they do. They do. But yeah, you're just like going through finding all these stones, and as the mystery unfolds, it's just captivating. Like it's a unique because it's not just one thing. Like it's not like the Lost Ark or the Holy Grail or the Shankara stones or the Crystal Skull or the Dial of Destiny, the Antikythera. It's multiple things, but it's more so just like a mystery the about Earth and about the world. It's really cool and it's different enough but similar enough to where it does feel like Indiana Jones and it fits perfect. Like I feel like if this was the 90s, if they made an Indiana Jones movie after The Last Crusade in the 90s, I feel like it would fit right in with those. It's just a really good story. And to talk about the characters, Gina as a sidekick she's such a likable character. Like she's so fun, and I like her back and forth with Indy, and she's very compelling in like what she's after to find her sister. It's truly special. And then whenever you find out that her sister is dead, and you find out that she was working with the Nazis. It's there's an emotional weight, and then whenever you find out that she's dead, it and she's still willing to stop Voss because she doesn't want the Nazis to get this power in what her sister was looking for. It's truly amazing how compelling Gina is, and I think she's up there with one of my favorite companions Indy's had in any of his adventures. Gina's great, and she's funny, and her dialogue's really good, and her motivations are very compelling. But yeah, Gina, great character. She's not like the love interest as explicitly as the other leading people were in the other Indiana Jones movies, and I like that. It's her and Indy do have a connection, but it's not like she's not like the token like the lady like I'm here to be love interest. No, she's cool, and she has like, you know, like women actually are like cool, awesome people that aren't just there just to be looked at. You know, she's cool and interesting and funny, and I like her character a lot. And she makes this really fun. And it's like, damn, dude, it sucks that you're probably not gonna see Gina again because she's fun. You know, after this, you're not gonna see Gina in anything else, which sucks unless they do like a direct sequel, but or the DLC for that matter. Like, she's a cool character, and I like her a lot. And then whenever you meet Dame Nawal in Egypt, she's a really cool character, and I like her connection to Gina through Gina's sister Laura. That's really cool. There's like a romantic interest, I think that's what they allude to. But yeah, she's a great character, and I think she's like a cool like intellectual match for Indy because it's like they're both archaeologists, and they both do this for the love of archaeology, and they're in it to find all this stuff and keep it out of the wrong hands. And she's just a really cool, likable character. And I wish she was in it more. I kind of hate that she just kind of like she comes with you guys to the Himalayas, and then she disappears. I thought she was going to stick around longer, but she's great, and I liked her character a lot. And then we're going to talk about the enemy, Voss, Emmerich Voss. He is very menacing, and is probably the most menacing villain I think Indiana Jones has had, besides Belloc. But I think Voss stands above the rest. Maybe not so much. Jurgen Voller and Dial of Destiny was really good. You know, Mads Mikkelsen, he's great in anything he does. But I think that Emmerich Voss is like a really, really great, even better than Belloc rival to Indy, because he's a Nazi, so it's weird to say, but you kind of see his point, but you know, he's a terrible person. So it's like, wow, this would be different if you weren't a terrible person aligning with terrible people. But he's got a good motive in the game. Like, he doesn't just feel evil just to be evil. It's like it's intentionally evil and what he wants to do. And he's very manipulative of people in the game, and it's really cool. And then Gantz is funny. You're like stupid funny because he's a fucking Nazi, but he's like the enemies in this, like the villains just remind me of like they remind me of like the three main ones in Raiders in terms of like quality. Like they're all great villains, but like just like terrible people. And to talk about Locust, Tony Todd's character, rest in peace. This is a great character, and I do like because he's from the order of giants. Like he's like the Nephilim, and they're like the fallen angels, and like they're giants, but it's not like it's like kind of like an indie kind of giant where it's like they're just like extremely tall people. There's nothing like supernatural going on. They're just like extremely tall people that are like guardians of the Great Circle, basically. And his motivation is really good, and I like Locust as a character. He starts off as an enemy because you fight him a few times, but after Sukatay is like you find out that Indy and Locust work together to get the Great Circle out of Vasta's hands. Obviously, at the end, whenever you should talk about this part, but like the ending when you find out that when you go to the Ziggurat of Ur in Iraq and you get to the towards the end of the level and you find Noah's Ark, it was like, oh, this is interesting. One, because I actually have a copy of it right here. It's right behind me. Let me grab it. But it does kind of retcon this book, but another spoiler, kind of. So, yeah, this is a spoiler section anyways, but there's a hidden ending if you find all the ancient relics in the game, which are collectible. You bring them to a door in Iraq and in the Ziggurat of Ur, and you put all these keys, these ancient relics in this big door, and it opens up, and then there's a hidden ending, and they show one of an ark in Antarctica. So it kind of before I got to that part, I thought I retconned this book. I was like, oh, they look for Noah's Ark in this. It retcons that, but there were multiple arcs, and they each got to different parts of the world because of the Great Circle stone pieces. So that's really cool. There's like it's like kind of like teleportation almost, but like that's how the Ark was able to get to different places, and that's why the Machu Picchu stone was the reason that the Nazi warship gets on top of the Himalayan mountains. So it was cool because it's like, what? How did that get up there? But then you find out that they travel to Shanghai, and there's like the cool dogfight moment thing. This video's going long, but I might just wrap it up here. I'm just kind of like rambling, but just to say, go through some like more parts of the game. Yeah, this is just my dream game that I've been waiting for, and it was like you can tell the level of care that Machine Games put into this, cause with like all these crazy references that are just like obscure Indiana Jones references that you never. It could have been very plain, but they definitely show that they're huge fans of Indiana Jones, and they knocked it out of the park in terms of tone and feel of Indiana Jones. That's really what I was looking for in this game. I was like, if they can capture the tone and feel of Indiana Jones, then they'll have got it right. And they did. They got it right. And it's a phenomenal game. They just exceeded expectations in a way that I was already expecting greatness, and they did more than that. So that was just next level good. The gameplay, like I said, is very addicting. Like the hand-to-hand combat, while it is a little clunky, I think that goes hand in hand with the tone of Indiana Jones. And while the AI isn't great, like you just very easily escape enemies. It's very Indiana Jones like. So while it can be a complaint if you just don't care about that and you just want to play the game, then that's fine. But I think it adds to Indiana Jones, and I feel like you have to have like some level of appreciation of Indiana Jones. Like you have to have some sliver to understand that part. Like I think that if you're just like a normal everyday Joe walking into this game and just playing Indiana Jones without caring about the character really, then you might have this be a big nitpick. But the AI is fine. It goes hand in hand with Indiana Jones. It's not the best, but don't expect that with Indiana Jones. They just take the fun aspect out. Anyways, yeah. And then just like the hand-to-hand combat, great stuff. Truly, truly good stuff. Um, and just like all the traversal mechanics and like pulling out in third person, it does this character justice. Like you have to see Indy, so it's cool to see him in cinematics and traversal stuff because it feels like a good mix between both. It's a good compromise for people who are wanting a strictly third person. I think this works really good. It reminds me a lot of Metroid Prime too. It reminds me a lot of Metroid Prime. So that's another good plus. And like I said, the story is phenomenal. I really do like the story. I saw some complaints about the ending, but I think the ending's fine. I think it's great. It's a fun final boss battle on top of the arc in the rain. It's really cool. And you're hanging off the side of it fighting Voss. It's so cool. And Voss dies in the violent way that most Indiana Jones villains do. The level diversity is great. The level diversity and the environments are so different, and it does feel like Indiana Jones where you're just like traveling around the world. It's great. There's nothing much to say about that except level diversity is great, and it's packed with content, but it respects your time. There's nothing too obtuse about anything. Minus some puzzles in Sukhothai that I'm just not really a big fan of, that I kind of gave up on. Other than that, it's pretty great. And I do appreciate how the puzzles are like actually challenging in puzzles and not just like super easy to figure out. The soundtrack, oh my gosh, how did I got 30 almost 40 minutes into this video talking about the soundtrack, but the soundtrack is so good. Like some of these pieces are on my Indiana Jones soundtrack playlist because they're so good and they're like on par, if not better than some of John Williams' themes. Like they're really good. Like there's great music in The Great Circle, and I think the soundtrack deserves an award. Like if this doesn't win anything for soundtrack anywhere, then it's a crime because it's truly a great soundtrack. I listen to it a lot while at work. It's totally great. Until the Next Adventure is probably my favorite track on there. It is like one of my favorite Indiana Jones songs in general now, so that's totally cool. Combat's fun to master, and while it is like clunky, it just doesn't get old. Like it doesn't feel old. Like punching Nazis never felt so great. It's so good. The sound design for punching is like ripped straight out of the movies. It's totally good stuff. Same with the whip. The whip is super satisfying to use to like pull enemies in for punches or knock them out or whip something out of their hands. Pulling switches, traversing. Totally fun. And it's like, honestly, the whip, this might be a crazy statement, but the whip might be on par with Spider-Man web swinging, in my opinion. I think it's just as satisfying as Kratos' axe in God of War or Spider-Man web swinging. It feels really fun to use. I'll be walking around and I'm just like doing the whip crap because I think it's like, it's just fun to just hear that sound and just like it feels good to do. So bravo on them making the whip feel as satisfying as it does. Like I said, the side content, very good stuff. No complaints there. But yeah, like, I'm going to leave it at this. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is definitely my game of the year and has become my personal favorite game of all time. And that's more so on an emotional level, and I don't want to give anybody else that expectation. This is just coming from someone who loves Indiana Jones and loves video games. So to have one of my favorite things be combined with another of my favorite things, it becomes a perfect storm, being both a great Indiana Jones story and a great video game. that I can't shake that. Like I'm gonna. This is an all time classic, and it's gonna be talked about for. I think this will come up many times. Like Skill Up in his review, he said the same exact thing. It was just like this is gonna be talked about. I feel like for years and years. But yeah, like to leave it at this, it's just like Nathan Drake and Lara Croft need to watch their backs because Indiana Jones is coming back for the crown. I think this is my new favorite game of all time and my new favorite adventure action game because that's what it feels like. But yeah, it's good. I've been talking for 40 minutes, so unscripted, unedited babble session about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. My review, uh, emotionally a 10 out of 10 as a massive Indiana Jones fan, but as a game for gamers first, Indiana Jones fans later, uh, it's totally a 9 out of 10. Great game. It deserves to be played. And I think this deserves to be talked about next award season. We need to be talking about this game next award season. GTA 6 or not. We need to be talking about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle because it deserves the praise, and I can't wait to play it on PlayStation. We're going to double dip. But yeah. Anyways, stop my babbling. I might go play Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and I'll catch you later.